Taehyung sat on a weathered wooden bench in the middle of the park, his eyes staring blankly at the darkened sky above. The stars were faint tonight, hiding behind a veil of clouds, just like the storm brewing inside him. His heart ached with a deep, relentless pain that he couldn't shake off, no matter how hard he tried. The cool night air did little to soothe the burning in his chest, the betrayal of Minji still fresh in his mind, replaying over and over like a broken record. He hadn't been able to go home. The thought of being alone in his room, surrounded by memories of Minji, was unbearable. Instead, he found himself in the park, the one place where he could sit and think, or rather, sit and try not to think. His phone sat in his hands, finger shaking slightly as he scrolled through his contacts. There was only one person he wanted to talk to, one person he needed right now, Vian. She was the one who had tried to warn him, the one who had cared enough to tell him the truth, even when he didn't want to hear it. And he had been so cruel. With a deep, shaky breath, Taehyung pressed her name and held the phone to his ear. His heart raced as the phone rang, each second feeling like an eternity. Part of him feared she would not answer, that she had given up on him after everything. But then her familiar voice came through the line, soft and tinged with concern. Taehyung, Vian's voice was slightly groggy, as if she had been asleep. Hearing her voice was both a relief and a source of guilt. Taehyung's throat tightened and he struggled to find the words, his voice coming out in a broken whisper. Vian, can you come meet me? The vulnerability in his voice must have alarmed her because she immediately asked, Tae, what's wrong? Where are you? I'm at the park, he replied, his voice trembling. Please, Vian, I need you right now. There was a brief pause on the other side, and then Vian's voice was resolute. I'm on my way. Stay there, okay? I'll be there soon. Taehyung nodded even though she couldn't see him and hung up on the phone. He leaned back on the bench, staring at the empty swings that nearby. He felt hollow, the weight of everything crushing down on him. For the first time, he allowed himself to cry, silent, heart wrenching sobs that he had been holding back all night. It wasn't long before Ryan arrived. She spotted him immediately, her heart clenching at the sight of him, hunched over on the bench, his shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. Without a moment's hesitation, she hurried over to him, her worry intensifying with each step. She whispered as she reached him, her voice filled with concern and care. He looked up at her, his eyes red and puffy from crying. The sight broke Ryan's heart. She had never seen him like this, so vulnerable, so broken. Without thinking, she sat down beside him and pulled him into a tight embrace, wrapping her arms around him as if she could shield him from the pain. Taeyong didn't resist. He buried his face in her shoulder, his tears soaking into her shirt as he clung to her like a lifeline. I'm sorry, he choked out between sobs. I'm so sorry, Ryan. It's okay, Tay, Ryan whispered soothingly, running her hands through his hair. You don't have to apologize. I'm here for you, okay? I'm not going anywhere. Her words only made Taehyung cry harder, the weight of his guilt and heartbreak overwhelming him. He had pushed her away, refused to believe her, and now he was the one who needed her the most. It was almost too much to bear, but Ryan held him tightly, her presence a calming balm to his shattered heart. They stayed like that for what felt like hours, Taehyung letting out all the pain he had kept bottled up inside. Ryan never let go, her own heart aching for him as she whispered comforting words, letting him know that he wasn't alone. She could feel the depth of his pain, and it made her more determined than ever to be there for him no matter what. Eventually, Taehyung's sob quieted, his breath evening out as he began to calm down. Wan pulled back slightly to look at him, her hands resting gently on his shoulders. Do you want to talk about it? She asked softly. Taehyung nodded, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. His voice was hoarse as he began to speak, recounting the events of the night. The lipstick, the open door, the betrayal he had walked in on. He spoke in a broken sentence, each word heavy with pain, and Vine listened intently, her heart breaking for him. I can't believe I didn't see it, Taehyung said bitterly, his voice filled with self recrimination. You tried to tell me, Ryan, and I didn't listen. I was so stupid. You're not stupid, Taehyung, Ryan said firmly, shaking her head. You were in love. It's not your fault that she betrayed you. You trusted her, and that's not something you should blame yourself for. But I treated you so horribly, he whispered, his eyes filled with guilt as he looked at her. I was so angry at you for telling me the truth, and you didn't deserve that. I pushed you away, Ryan, and I'm sorry. Ryan's heart ached at the sight of his remorse. She reached out and took his hand in hers, giving it a light squeeze. Taehyung, you were hurt and in denial. I understand why you reacted the way you did, but I never stopped caring about you, and I never will. You're my friend, and I am always going to be here for you. Her words brought a fresh wave of tears to Taehyung's eyes, but this time they were tears of gratitude. He squeezed her hand back, his heart swelling with a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. Thank you, Ryan, he murmured. I don't know what I'd do without you. You don't have to find out. Ryan replied with a gentle smile. We're in this together, okay? Whatever you need, I am here. Taehyung nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. For the first time that night, the crushing weight of his heartbreak began to lift just a little, thanks to Ryan's unwavering support. They sat together in the park for a while longer, talking quietly about everything and nothing, until the sky began to lighten with the first hints of dawn. In the weeks and months that followed, Ryan continued to be a source of strength and comfort for Taehyung as he navigated the difficult process of moving. It wasn't easy. There were days when the pain of betrayal threatened to consume him, when he couldn't help but replay the events in his mind, wondering where it had all gone wrong. But Ryan was always there, ready to listen, to distract him with a joke or a movie night, to remind him that he was stronger than the pain he was feeling. Slowly, Taehyung began to heal. He focused on his studies, on his friendships, and on rediscovering the things that made him happy. Ryan was with him every step of the way, and over time their bond grew even stronger. They became inseparable, best friends in the truest sense of the word. Years passed, and the memories of Minji's betrayal faded into the background, no longer the painful weight they once were. Taehyung and Ryan graduated from school and pursued their dreams, always cheering each other on, always there to celebrate the successes and support each other through the challenges. Their friendship became the kind that others envied, deep, unshakable, built on a foundation of trust and understanding. They shared everything with each other, from the mundane details of the day to their most personal thoughts and fears. It was a bond that went beyond mere friendship. It was something more profound, something that neither of them could fully explain, but both cherished deeply. One day, several years after that one fateful night in the park, Taehyung found himself sitting across from Wyan in a cozy cafe, their favorite spot to catch up after a long week. They were laughing about something silly that had happened at work, the easy banter between them a testament to how close they had become. As Taehyung looked at Wyan, something shifted inside him. It was a feeling that had been growing quietly for some time, one that he hadn't fully acknowledged until now. There was a warmth in his chest, a sense of contentment and affection that went beyond friendship. He realized with a start that he was in love with Wyan. It wasn't the kind of love that hit suddenly, like a lightning bolt. It was a slow, steady realization built on years of shared experiences, mutual respect, and deep understanding. It was a love that had grown naturally, rooted in the strong foundation of their friendship. Taehyung's heart raced as he looked at Wyan, wondering if she could possibly feel the same way. He watched her laugh, her eyes crinkling at the corners in that familiar, endearing way. And he felt a surge of affection so strong it almost took his breath away. How had he never noticed it before? How had he never realized that the person he had been searching for all along was right in front of him? Vine noticed his sudden silence and tilted her head, her laughter fading as she looked at him with concern. They, what's wrong? You've gone all quiet on me. Taehyung blinked, snapping out of his thoughts. He hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to approach this new revelation. But then he remembered all the times Ryan had been there for him, how she had never judged him, never pushed him away, no matter what. If there was one person he could be honest with, it was her. Ryan, he began, his voice a little shaky. There's something I need to tell you. She leaned in slightly, her expression growing serious. What is it, they? You know you can tell me anything. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about us, about everything we've been together. Van nodded, her eyes filled with understanding and a touch of curiosity. Okay, and I realized something, he continued, his voice soft. I realized that somewhere along the way I fell in love with you. The words hung in the air between them, and for a moment time seemed to stand still. Taehyung watched her closely, his heart pounding in his chest, waiting for her reaction. Vian's eyes widened slightly, and for a brief second he saw a flicker of something in her gaze. Something that looked a lot like hope. But then she bit her lip, her brows furrowing as if she was processing what he had just said. You, you're in love with me? She asked, her voice almost a whisper, as if she couldn't quite believe it. Taehyung nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. Yeah, I am, and I think I've been in love with you for a while now, but I didn't realize it until recently. You've always been there for me, Ryan, through everything. You're the most important person in my life, and I can't imagine my life without you. Van stared at him for a moment longer, her eyes searching his face as if she was trying to find any hint of uncertainty. But there was none. Taehyung's expression was open, sincere, his feelings laid bare for her to see. Slowly, a smile began to spread across her face, a smile that was warm and full of same affection Taehyung had just confessed to feeling. Taehyung's heart skipped a beat at her words, and for a moment he felt like he was dreaming. You you feel the same way? He asked, his voice filled with wonder. Van nodded, her smile growing wider. Yes, I do. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to ruin our friendship. But now that I know you feel the same way, it feels like everything makes sense. Relief, joy, and love all surged through Taehyung at once, and he couldn't stop the smile that spread across his face. He squeezed her hand, his eyes shining with happiness. And just like that, they knew that their friendship had blossomed into something even more beautiful, something that would last for the rest of their lives.